Patrick Mahomes Sr. is back behind bars after violating his probation, but it's what he said about his son that has everyone talking. Some fans think his comments reveal a lot about the relationship between father and son, and not all of it is positive. Let me catch you up. Patrick Mahomes Sr., the father of Super Bowl winning quarterback Patrick Mahomes Jr., sat in jail, and from behind those walls, he had something to say to his son. The message wasn't wrapped in legal language or filtered through a publicist. It was personal. In an interview for the ESPN docuseries The Kingdom, Mahomes Sr. laid it bare, and what he said was that watching his son have to publicly address his arrest was the most embarrassing thing I've ever been through in my life. That's a man sending a message to his kid from the lowest point. He's reached not just embarrassment for himself, embarrassment because of his son, because he made Patrick Jr. carry something that wasn't his to carry, and Patrick Jr. heard it. He felt it. The Chiefs quarterback admitted his dad hurt him when he was caught up in the law again, and he said so publicly on camera in that same docuseries. Patrick Jr. said it was during that Super Bowl. It became a story, and so I had to answer questions about it. I think just knowing that it hurt me woke him up to know that, like, you can't keep doing the same things. Now, that conversation between father and son, that emotional reckoning, didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the product of years of escalating legal trouble. And when Mahomes Sr. ended up behind bars for what looked like the final time, the back and forth between them became one of the most public father-son stories in American sports. Here's what you need to know to understand how heavy that message really was. Mahomes Sr. was ordered to remain in jail until a scheduled hearing, with prosecutors claiming he had failed to perform his community service at the required rate, and crucially, that his alcohol monitoring device had flagged a high reading on New Year's Day. He was booked into Smith County Jail and held without bond. Because of those alleged violations, prosecutors were pushing to have him sentenced to 10 years in prison. 10 years. Not a weekend sentence, not probation, a decade behind bars. And the clock on all of this started ticking years before Patrick Jr. ever threw a Super Bowl touchdown. Mahomes Sr. had been arrested at least 3 times for DWI, with the most recent arrest coming right before his son's Kansas City Chiefs beat the San Francisco 49ers in the 2024 Super Bowl. Think about that timing, the biggest game of Patrick Jr.'s life, and his father was sitting in a Texas jail cell, pleading with officers, invoking his son's name. In police body cam footage obtained by TMZ, Mahomes Sr. pleaded with officers while in handcuffs and mentioned his son's name multiple times. "Can I say one thing? My son is getting ready to play in the effing Super Bowl." In that video, he could be seen wearing a Kansas City versus everybody sweatshirt as he struggled through field sobriety tests. That image, a man in Chiefs gear, stumbling through roadside tests, name-dropping his son to escape consequences. That's the image that the world saw, and it's the image Patrick Jr. had to live with heading into the biggest game of the year. Mahomes Sr. later admitted that he apologized to his son after the arrest for taking the attention away from his big day with such negative news. That apology, that message, that moment of reckoning, it's the thread that runs through this entire story. And to understand why it hit the way it did, you have to go back to where this all started. Patrick Lavon Mahomes Sr. was born on August 9, 1970. He played in Major League Baseball from 1992 to 2003 for the Minnesota Twins, Boston Red Sox, New York Mets, Texas Rangers, Chicago Cubs, and Pittsburgh Pirates. Over 11 seasons, he carved out a real career in one of the hardest sports in the world to stick around in. The Minnesota Twins drafted him in the 6th round of the 1988 MLB draft. He came out of East Texas, drafted out of Lindale High School, a town about 14 miles northwest of Tyler. So everything that's happened since, every arrest, every court date, every jail booking, has played out in that same small corner of Texas he came from. A former Major League pitcher, Mahomes Sr. played for 6 teams over 11 seasons. He finished 42-39 with a 5.47 ERA in 308 career games, including 63 starts for the Twins, Red Sox, Mets, Rangers, Cubs, and Pirates. He wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he was a legitimate big leaguer, the kind of athlete who gets to say he competed at the highest level of his sport, and who, had things gone differently, might be remembered primarily for that. He went 8-0 in the 1999 season during 39 relief appearances and helped the Mets reach the playoffs. He made 4 relief appearances during the postseason, recording a .225 ERA in 8 innings pitched while striking out 4, as the Mets lost to the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS. That's a career worth talking about. But Pat Sr.'s post-baseball life took a different shape entirely. He was charged in 2016 with public intoxication during a game between TCU and Texas Tech. That was a warning sign, a public documented warning sign, but it didn't stop there. Mahomes Sr. was arrested twice for DWI in 2012, and twice more in 2018. He was jailed after his fifth arrest in March 2019 and had a 40-day sentence that included a weekend work release program. So by the time the 2024 Super Bowl arrest happened, it wasn't a first offense. It wasn't even a second or third. Mahomes Sr.'s mugshots have been on record since his multiple arrests over the past 15 years. There's a pattern here that's impossible to miss, a pattern that the court saw, that his family saw, and that the public eventually couldn't look away from. And through all of it, Patrick Jr. was rising. Every time the father slipped, the son was climbing higher. By 2024, Patrick Jr. wasn't just a great quarterback. He was arguably the best player in football, the face of the NFL, the man with the Super Bowl rings to prove it. That contrast, the father's descent playing out against the son's ascent, is what made the body cam footage so jarring. And it's what made the ESPN docuseries interview, where both men opened up about the toll it was taking, so genuinely affecting. To compete at the highest level is something that is rare and very special. Mahomes Sr. had told CNN of his son's career. For him to have the amount of success that he's had this early on in his career is just surreal. A proud father, a man who clearly understood what his son had built, and yet a man who kept finding himself on the wrong side of a police traffic stop. After the 2024 DWI charge, he pleaded guilty and was given 5 years of probation, avoiding a prison sentence of up to a decade behind bars, and a fine of up to $10. 5 years to get it right. 5 years to prove the courts and his son that he was serious about changing. That probation was a lifeline, and it was a lifeline that by early 2026 looked like it might snap. When the 2024 Super Bowl arrest went public, the Chiefs were 8 days out from the biggest game of that season. Patrick Jr. was in preparation mode. The entire NFL world was focused on Kansas City and San Francisco. And then the story dropped. Mahomes Sr. was arrested just 8 days before Super Bowl LVIII. The timing couldn't have been worse or more public. He was pulled over with a blood alcohol content of 0.23. The legal limit is 0.8. That's nearly 3 times over. And what made the footage so striking wasn't just the number. It was how he handled the moment. Because instead of going quietly, he went for his son. Mahomes Sr. admitted he had had some drinks before citing concerns over how the arrest could hurt his son and the Chiefs as they prepared for the Super Bowl. He wasn't trying to deny the drinking entirely. He was trying to manage the fallout. He understood in that moment exactly what this would mean for Patrick Jr. We've never had a star here in this area. And now we got a chance to be a star, and now we're going to have a scandal now. He said, "We're gonna have a scandal for no effing reason, because my registration when he gifted me the car hasn't gotten in yet, which would probably be in the next day or two." The car registration was a sideshow. The real issue was the Bay AC, and he knew it. He continued, "I promise you, I don't say a lot of stuff about nothing. I've had a couple of drinks, yes I have, but I am not drunk." He also had an open beer in his center console. Patrick Jr.'s response to all of this, in the immediate aftermath, silence. He kept his lips tight about the arrest and went on to win against the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime. He won. He won the Super Bowl while his father sat in a Texas jail cell, having used his son's name as a bargaining chip with cops. Patrick Jr. was hoisting another Lombardi trophy. His son declined to address the situation 2 days later. During opening night media availability in advance of Super Bowl LVIII, he showed up. He answered football questions, he did his job, and he locked the door on the personal stuff. That discipline to compartmentalize, to perform, to win is a big part of who Patrick Jr. is as a player. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. The father later said, "I called him right after, and I told him, I said, I'm sorry that it's taking away from your time and taking away from your focus." That phone call, that apology from a father to his son during Super Bowl week, from the other side of a booking process, that's the weight of this story. And it's also the weight that Patrick Jr. carried into August 2024, when his father appeared in court and finally entered a guilty plea. Mahomes Sr. pleaded guilty to his third charge of driving while intoxicated. he agreed to a sentence of 5 years probation, with intense supervision for the first year. His attorney said, at the time, that their client was now living a sober life, and that the steps he'd taken to better himself helped secure the probation recommendation. It looked, briefly, like a turning point. Then 2026 arrived. It started with a reading on an ankle monitor. New Year's Day, 2026. Officials say his probation officer was alerted after his alcohol monitoring ankle device reportedly showed a high reading on New Year's Day. The SCRAM device, the secure continuous remote alcohol monitor, samples sweat from the wearer every 30 minutes. It's not subtle technology. It's the kind of monitoring designed specifically for people with a DWI history. People the courts don't fully trust to self-report. And on the first day of the new year, it flagged something. The prosecutor also said he failed to perform his community service at the required rate of 3 hours per month for several months. So it wasn't just the ankle monitor reading. It was a broader pattern of non-compliance, the kind of pattern that tells a court a man isn't taking his probation seriously. Patrick "Pat" Mahomes Sr., 55, was arrested during a meeting with his probation officer after a warrant was obtained for a probation violation. Not during a traffic stop this time, not pulled over on a highway. He walked into a routine probation meeting and walked out in handcuffs. He was booked into Smith County Jail and held without bond. Due to the alleged violations, prosecutors were pushing to have him sentenced to 10 years in prison as punishment. Now, 10 years is the maximum for a third-degree felony DWI conviction in Texas. That's the ceiling, and prosecutors were swinging for it. This wasn't a quiet recommendation for additional treatment. This was the state of Texas telling a judge, enough. We gave this man probation. He didn't hold up his end. Lock him up. He was set to spend Super Bowl Sunday behind bars. The ex-MLB player was ordered to remain in jail until a hearing the following month, with prosecutors pushing for the 10-year sentence. That's a specific kind of cruelty, even if it's self-inflicted. Super Bowl Sunday, watching his son's Chiefs, and he's locked up in Tyler, Texas, in a county jail, wearing an orange jumpsuit. His conduct at the 2025 Super Bowl had earned him another strike with the law after he exchanged heated words with former MLB pitcher John Rocker in New Orleans. That matter caught the attention of a Texas district attorney who urged a judge to mandate Mahomes Sr. to always wear an alcohol monitoring bracelet. The request was filed by the district attorney alongside a community supervisor, stating that due to the defendant's extensive travel outside of Smith County for sports events, it's requested that the defendant have an additional portable alcohol monitoring device when he's not using his vehicle. So even before the New Year's Day flag, the court was already tightening the leash. The DA was paying attention. Every step Mahomes Sr. took outside Smith County to watch his son play football, to attend high-profile events, was being tracked and documented. The probation violation report noted that Mahomes Sr. submitted urine tests on January 5 and January 9, and both came back negative for alcohol. So the ankle monitor said one thing, his body chemistry said another, and in the gap between those two data points sat the possibility of a decade in prison. The question for the court, and for everyone watching, was which piece of evidence would carry more weight. The father of Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes appeared in Smith County Court in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit on Monday, March 9, after being locked up for over a month. The stakes going in were enormous. Prosecutors were pushing for a full revocation of his probation. If successful, that meant the judge could impose the sentence that had been hanging over this case since the original guilty plea. Up to 10 years, Patrick Jr. was already rehabbing a torn ACL, already dealing with his own physical battles. His father's legal fate was playing out without him in the room. By that Monday, the court heard that a hair follicle test conducted for alcohol on Mahomes Sr. came back negative, and he himself did not admit to drinking alcohol. That was the turn. The ankle monitor reading, the one that started the whole chain of events, couldn't be corroborated by the biological tests. 2 urine tests, negative. A hair follicle test, negative. The science that was supposed to bury him ended up being the evidence that saved him. The state of Texas withdrew its request to revoke Mahomes' probation. After more than a month in jail, after a prosecution that had been gunning for 10 years, the state pulled back. The motion to revoke, gone. But the court wasn't done with him entirely. On that Monday, a judge extended his probation by 2 additional years. his probation was extended to a total of 7 years. The judge also ordered him to undergo and complete a 16-week outpatient treatment program. He must also enroll in that outpatient program and increase his community service. His 30-day jail sentence was credited as time served, and he was subsequently released that Monday afternoon. So he walked out. He'd spent roughly a month behind bars. Not 10 years, but a month is a month, and the terms he walked out with are tighter than anything he'd faced before. 7 years of probation, a treatment program, increased community service, an ankle monitor that doesn't lie, or at least that courts will continue to take seriously. And sitting somewhere in the background of all of this is Patrick Jr., the son who said publicly that his father's arrest hurt him. The son who called that moment, "I think just knowing that it hurt me," woke him up, watching to see if the wake-up call is finally, permanently sticking. His dad, a former pitcher for the New York Mets, had candidly spoken about his DWI in the documentary. He claimed the incident was the most embarrassing thing to happen to him and that he'd been sober from alcohol since. That was August 2025. By January 2026, an ankle monitor was flagging, a reading that put everything back in jeopardy. The thing about a second chance is that it only means something if you protect it. Mahomes Sr. has now been given more versions of a second chance than most people get. Probation instead of prison in 2024. Release instead of revocation in 2026. A total of 7 years to prove to a Texas court and to his son that the pattern is broken. His younger son, Jackson Mahomes, was also involved in a series of arrests, including being sentenced to 120 days in jail, along with 6 months of probation for pleading guilty to a misdemeanor count of battery. So on both sides of Patrick Jr.'s family, the people closest to him have had to navigate the legal system in very public ways, and Patrick Jr. has had to keep performing, keep winning, keep leading, while carrying all of that. The message his father sent from jail, the one about embarrassment, about apology, about knowing his son was hurt, wasn't just words. It was the acknowledgement that the man who raised the best quarterback in football had spent years making his son's greatest moments smaller. And now, with 7 years of probation ahead of him, a monitoring bracelet on his ankle, and a family watching every move, the question is whether those words finally translated into permanent change. The court gave him one more shot. His son gave him one more shot. Whether this chapter ends differently from the ones before it is, for now, still being written. Patrick Mahomes Sr. jailed for allegedly violating probation terms, Fox News. Patrick Mahomes Sr. facing up to 10-year prison sentence for violating probation, Black Enterprise. Pat Mahomes Sr. to remain in jail until March. Prosecutors push for 10 years in prison, TMZ. Patrick Mahomes' father arrested for violating DWI probation, ESPN. Patrick Mahomes Sr. back in jail on alleged probation violation, KLTV. Patrick Mahomes admits father's DWI arrest before 2024 Super Bowl hurt him, TMZ. Patrick Mahomes' dad escapes jail despite umpteen run-in with the law, Yahoo Sports. Patrick Mahomes Sr. released from jail with 2 years increased probation, Yahoo Sports. Patrick Mahomes Sr. released from jail as court extends probation, Fox News. Patrick Mahomes' father pleads guilty to DWI charge in Texas, NBC News. Pat Mahomes Sr. pleads guilty to DWI charge, gets probation, ESPN. Pat Mahomes Sr. pleads guilty to DWI third time or more charge, Fox News. Patrick Mahomes' father arrested, charged with DWI in Texas, NBC News. Patrick Mahomes' dad begins jail sentence for drunk driving conviction, Yahoo News. Former Texas Rangers pitcher arrested for 6 DWI, Sports Illustrated. Pat Mahomes, Wikipedia. Prosecutors indict Patrick Mahomes Sr. for felony third offense DWI, NBC Sports, https://www.nbcsports.com/NFL Pro Football Talk Rumor Mill News. Prosecutors indict Patrick Mahomes /SR4 felony third offense